Okay, hello everybody. Good evening. I'm sure we'll have a couple of more that will trickle in, but we'll get started with some introductions. So, my name is Catherine McCarthy. I am one of our regional senior assistant directors of admissions here at Hobart William Smith, and I'm so excited that you are all joining us tonight for this evening's session. I'm especially excited to introduce our guest, Professor Stacy Philbrick-Yadov. She is our professor of international relations here at Hobart William Smith. She's also chair of the department too, and she'll be sharing a lot of great information and opportunities within the international relations department here at HWS. We'll be getting started in just a moment. And before we begin, I do want to share that we will have plenty of time for questions at the end. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we will do our best to address them at the end. And for all of our admitted students that are with us this evening, congratulations on your acceptance to Hobart William Smith. Maybe a few of you will be joining us for our first admitted student day this Saturday. And if you are, we hope you have the best time on campus. And we also have, some future dates in March and April too. So without further ado, Stacy, you are free to take it away.
Great. I'm really excited to join you tonight. This is the first time actually that I've been asked to do a dedicated session for international relations students or for students who are interested in international relations at HWS. And I'm excited because I think it's terrific that there's growing interest. I'm a big fan of the program, obviously, but I've been teaching at HWS for 19 years, which went by in the blink of an eye. And I think the program is stronger than ever and really just building in a terrific direction. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about some of the things that we've been doing in the department and some of the reasons why I think that's the case. And if you are coming to campus for one of the admitted students weekends, I want to encourage you. We actually have a sample class, a sample international relations class at every admitted students weekend that's coming up this spring. So if you're coming to the one that's this upcoming weekend, you can take a sample class with a different professor in the department. And if you're coming to one of the future ones, it might be a sample class with me. So let's see. The International Relations Department is an interdisciplinary department. And if you're already on this call, then you might have looked at that a little bit and you might have some sense of that. But I guess I should start by explaining what that means a little bit. There are three faculty who teach in the department 100% of the time, like full time, all of our classes are in the department, and we're all political scientists by training. So all of us have PhDs in political science. But there are six other faculty across campus who contribute classes routinely, and our students take classes with them, and they're in economics, in history, in anthropology, and in religious studies. And they also have area or regional specializations in Latin America, in Asia, in different parts of the world. So our students get a really interdisciplinary and cross-regional kind of grounding. But I would say that if you want to think about the sort of the three legs of the stool, so to speak, it would be sort of a foundation in the study of politics, economics, and history. Those are sort of the foundations of our curriculum. And students start out by studying, there are two required classes in the department, Intro to International Relations and Intro to Comparative Politics. I teach Intro to Comparative Politics, and that's the class that students are least likely to be familiar with when they enter college. I think Intro to International Relations, people already have a little bit of an idea about. It's sort of about the relationship between states and markets in the international system. But Intro to Comparative Politics compares the relationship between the state and society, comparatively around the world. And I absolutely love teaching that class, and I teach it every semester. So all of our students take both of those classes because both of those sets of dynamics matter, but all of our students also take economics because that also matters. So if you're coming in, you should take a math placement test so that you can go into economics. Our students also study a foreign language. And if you've been studying a foreign language, that's terrific. You can take a placement test and you can continue with the language that you've already been studying. But college is also a really terrific time to try a new language. And I would say that I think that one of the strengths at HWS is that in the department, we really encourage our students to take on Category 4 languages. Those are the languages that the State Department considers and rewards as the most challenging languages to study. So we offer Arabic and Chinese and Japanese, and we encourage our students to study those languages. I'm an Arabic speaker, and I wasn't growing up, but it's the language of my research and it's central to what I do with my life. So, I don't think it's too difficult to learn, and I think it's something that you can do if you put your mind to it. We also encourage our students to study abroad, and we know that our IR majors do the best when they study abroad in the languages that they learn to speak. And so we have robust offerings. Obviously, you already know that. But we really work with international relations students to pair their abroad experiences with their language study because that helps you find the right internship, find the first job, and it helps me as an advisor to narrate your trajectory in a letter of recommendation. It helps me make sense of your curriculum and tell the best story when I'm trying to help you land that job, right? Or get into graduate school or whatever's next. So let me say something about graduate school and whatever's next, because that's, I think, one of the things that we've been working on. And we've had some really exciting developments this year. I don't know if you've been on the website this week, but on Monday, an exciting article came out about a new partnership that we've just launched with the Maxwell School for Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University, which is the #1 public affairs school in the country. Every year it gets ranked #1, and it's really, really terrific. And a lot of people kind of puzzle over that, right? Because it's in Syracuse, which is not DC, among other things, right? It seems like it's in the middle of nowhere. Well, a lot of people think HWS seems like it's in the middle of nowhere too. But when I was on my job interview, someone described it as the edge of somewhere. And I thought that that was a better way of thinking of it. Um, but the argument for Syracuse is that Syracuse University has a terrific public service oriented endowment, and it devotes itself to crafting this trajectory of public service that aligns really well with the service orientation of HWS. So there was this terrific sort of, I don't know, syn synchronicity, I guess, between the two institutions. And it was actually a little bit deeper than that. So if you look at the article, one of the things you'll see is that the former chair of the Board of Trustees here at HWS, Tom Bizzuto, for whom can you see the boathouse behind Catherine? I don't think so, maybe. Yeah, you can see the boathouse there. It's named for Tom Bizzuto. The former chair of the Board of Trustees, he is a graduate of the Maxwell School at Syracuse as well. And so there was this real alignment. We write about it in the article, we talk about it. I didn't know that when I started down the path of developing this initiative, so it felt very fated when we brought this to fruition. So let me tell you a little bit about the partnership. Um, Basically, you're going to be able to start a graduate degree at this top program while you're still an undergraduate at HWS. Not everyone will be able to do this. This is something that will be for our most competitive students. But we've established a program that will allow students to apply in their junior year. And if they're accepted, they would be able to begin taking graduate courses in their senior year, basically just one each semester. So they'd take two Maxwell courses, graduate courses, while still living at HWS, while still being enrolled full-time at HWS. They'd also be able to transfer two of our classes to the Maxwell School. So now we're up to 4 classes that you've completed towards your graduate education before you've graduated from HWS. And then on the remaining credits towards that graduate degree from the Maxwell School, so this is a master's in public affairs or a master's in international relations, you'd have a minimum 30% scholarship. So qualified candidates would be able to get more than that. We had the graduate director and the graduate admissions officer on campus today actually meeting with students. So it's a really very new partnership, right? This is just launched this week. And we're extremely excited about it. Our first cohort of students will be able to apply this spring. So that's one of the initiatives, but there are other things that we have going on. This year, HWS launched the Freilinghuisen program, which some of you may have read about. It's a competitive internship program. I just saw in the chat that there was a question about internships, so I'm going to address that in kind of general terms and say students do internships all over the place, and I can talk more about that generally. But the Freilinghuisen program, which was endowed through a gift from a former member of Congress who has a connection to the colleges, is bringing 10 students to Washington, D.C. for the summer. And those students have been very carefully selected through an application process, and they're being mentored all year long through a process that helps them through alums who are based in DC, who work in various industries and on Capitol Hill. And they're being mentored through the process of looking for internships in Washington. And what I'm seeing from my vantage point is that the students who've been accepted into the program, 4 out of the 10 are IR majors. They're reaching higher. They're reaching for really competitive, wonderful internships. And I'm really excited to see what that's going to yield. And they'll all be living together this summer and having ongoing professional development and mentorship opportunities all summer. And I think this is the first year again, so we don't know what's going to come of it. But, when you think about the MELI, when you think about the Freilinghuisen, when you think about the new Maxwell program, it's just kind of amazing to see the up and coming trajectory of things that we're able to offer for our students. The guaranteed internship funding is available for everybody, and that's terrific. That's been a game changer for students. A lot of my students have used that funding to extend their experience when they study abroad and have stayed where it is that they've studied abroad and taken a terrific internship in that country and been able to stay and do some kind of cool work experience that draws again on the language skills that they've developed. And that's been terrific. One of my advisees worked in Hong Kong last summer in a really terrific internship. Yeah, okay, I've been talking a lot. So I'll come up for air for a second. Um, Catherine, is there anything specifically? I'm not reading the chat, so if you want to feed me any questions.
Yes. So, one individual did ask about the specific internships, volunteer opportunities that IR program connects students with, which you kind of briefly went over. And the Career Services, office on campus is nationally ranked as well too. And so we have wonderful placements for our students too. So I always like to throw that out. And then somebody else said, sorry if I missed this, but is the IR program a specific major to declare, or is it an academic program you have to apply for and get accepted into?
Okay, so it's a major to declare, so you don't have to be accepted into it. You can arrive on campus undecided, and we love that as a liberal arts college, we don't expect students to arrive here in a major. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I am sad every time I hear her describe one of her friends as going to X, Y, and Z school for this major or as this major, because that's not really how our students are at HWS. We're a liberal arts college. And so I love that students come in and they don't know what they're going to do. And one of my favorite advisees was uh, thought that she was going to be pre-med and took a whole slate of bio courses in her first year. And I first met her as a sophomore when she was taking 4 IR courses, which was a complete 180 and a pretty aggressive one at that. Because she really changed her mind, and she wanted to do something completely different. And she really, really wants to be a human rights lawyer, and we're going to make it happen. I teach human rights and international law, so that was the class that I had her in, and it's my job to help her figure out how she's going to get to law school. So I look forward to doing that. And let me also say, we send a lot of students to law school out of the international relations department too. So that's something. We don't have a pre-law major. Um, Students can work with a pre-law advisor to select courses that deal with the law or that will prepare them for law school. And many of those might be through the IR major. They can major in IR and be ready for law school. In terms of internships and other kinds of volunteer opportunities, I'm going to briefly plug summer research, which we haven't talked about. It's neither an internship nor a volunteer opportunity, but it kind of relates to both. We keep a reasonable number of students on campus in the summer to do research with faculty. So I just read 17 applications from students who want to stay on campus this summer to do research with faculty in my department. We have 5 spots, so it's pretty competitive, not crazy competitive, but pretty competitive. Unfortunately, fortunately, a bunch of them are qualified. Unfortunately, I am going to have to say no to some qualified students. I did some interviews yesterday with some wonderful students, talking with them about it. But what I'm going to be working with students on this summer is taking that human rights and international law class and developing a service learning component of it so that we could be working with legal aid of the Finger Lakes to develop some legal support for their refugee and immigration law service, to do country condition reports. That's something that immigration lawyers need access to, is to have like reliable access to information about what country conditions are like in the countries where people who are filing petitions for asylum, for example. They may need to be able to document what the conditions are like in the country that they are seeking asylum from. And so I do a fair amount of work in that area on a pro bono basis myself in my professional capacity, and I'm in a position to help students learn how to do that work. So that's something that I will be working with students on this summer. And another faculty member in my department teaches a class on data visualization for international relations, and he'll be teaching students how to do some advanced data visualization techniques.
Right, so we have a couple of more questions here. So somebody asked about the math placement exam that we have. I'm assuming one needs to have a certain level of placement from the exam to take economics. What happens if they do not meet the threshold?
Mhm.
Do they need to retake the placement exam again?
Yeah, you have a couple of different options. So first, you could take a math class, and then that serves two purposes. One, it'll fulfill your mathematical reasoning perspective, and from a curricular standpoint, that's a benefit. And two, it'll help you perform better when you do take the economics class, right? So taking a math class, not a bad idea. Um, if you were really close to the mark, though, it might be worth just brushing up a little bit. If it's been, like, for example, if it's just been a while since I know math requirements vary by state and by school district. And so it may be that it's just been a while since you were in a math class, or in a math class of a certain type. And so if that's the case, you might be able to just brush up or do some extra Khan Academy stuff, and then take it again. And that's fine too. It's online.
And then somebody else asked, I'm coming from having a background living in Australia and thus have quite an interest in Pacific affairs. Are there any courses or focuses on the Indo-Pacific or Oceania type
Yeah.
areas?
Yes, there absolutely are. So we definitely have some courses on the Asia Pacific region, and I would also recommend that you take your Intro to IR class with Professor Vikash Yadav, because each of our faculty members teaches their intro course with a particular regional slant. I would say the intro courses are predominantly theoretical, but we each have a regional expertise. So, I'm teaching theory in my Intro to Comparative Politics class, but I use examples from the Middle East because that's my regional expertise. And Professor Vikash Yadav, he's teaching theory, but he uses examples from Asia. Professor Kevin Dunn is teaching theory, but he uses examples from Africa, so on and so forth. And so I would encourage you to seek out Professor Yadav's Intro to IR for that reason, because it's the most Asia-centric version of the intro course. The other thing that I would say is that our Asian Studies department is just wonderful and has a number of Asia Pacific courses. Professor Lisa Yoshikawa has some courses that deal with both. She's doing some research on, bear with me, coral. Yes, that coral as in coral reefs. Um, that is a kind of in the area of the history of science, but the relationship between the history of science and the history of empire that I think would be really interesting and relevant to someone with an interest in Asia Pacific. And then, of course, we have a semester abroad program in New Zealand that might be of interest to you as well,
Perfect.
unless that's too close to home.
Somebody else asked, does HWS have a Hebrew language program? Can Hebrew be part of a BIR language requirement?
So, we do not have a Hebrew language program right now. If you are a native Hebrew speaker, we can arrange to have you assessed and to use Hebrew as, actually, even if you're not a native Hebrew speaker, we can always arrange to have someone's proficiency assessed. And if you are assessed at having the equivalent of second year Hebrew, then we can waive the language requirement for you. But we don't teach it on campus. And we do not currently support a study abroad program in Israel.
Anybody else have any other questions they'd like to ask? Feel free to drop them in the chat. We can go over them.
I put mine in the Q&A.
Oh, okay, let me check.
Oh, that's a different modality.
Okay, so is the summer research program paid and is housing and meals provided for the student?
Yes, it's paid. It's paid well, and housing and meals are covered. So it's actually like the best deal on campus. I think it's an 8-week program. The students get housing and meals, and if I'm not wrong, they are paid close to $700 a week.
Somebody else asks, can you double major in English and international relations?
You can double major in anything you want, but one of my favorite students, Bella Babikian, double majored in English and IR. She's in law school right now at Syracuse University, and she just taught a workshop for my Human Rights and International Law class on legal writing. When the final assignment for that class involves two components, writing a legal brief and crafting an advocacy campaign for a human rights organization. And I have an alum come in to do a workshop with the students on each part. So an alum who does some legal writing and an alum who does some campaigning, to kind of walk the students through what's involved in doing both of those things in the real world. And Bella walked us through how to write a legal brief, and it was great. So yes, you can double major in English and in IR.
Nice. This next question, did you say IR will have an info booth or info at all at the admitted student days? And if we wanted to ask questions while we are there?
Yes, we will definitely have an info booth at all of the admitted students' days. I'm doing two of them, and one of my colleagues is doing the other two.
And at these, at our admitted student days, students will have the opportunity to talk with a variety of different offices and departments on campus during our what I like to call like our campus-wide expo during the day. So lots of opportunities to connect with different departments too. I know a lot of students at this point in time, have many ideas, and thinking ahead to what they might like to study. So that's a great opportunity to connect with a variety of different people, offices, departments around campus. Okay.
I can see that there's a question about outcome data about where students go after graduation in addition to law school or grad school. Um, Yeah, so we are doing an assessment project right now to better understand that. But I can say that we have a LinkedIn, so we have a LinkedIn group for the department. So that's one of the ways that I follow that the most closely. And so we have I mentioned that the students all have to take economics and they all have to study a foreign language. And so those two clusters of skills tend to lead people in two different directions. But that it tends to be that people go into business and like the finance realm, or into public service and sort of humanitarian NGO sector work, using the language skills. So I would say that if we look at it from a skills-based standpoint, you can see how those skills translate into the type of work that people do. Um, that would be, I can definitely tell you that um, about 40% of our students double major in a foreign language or area studies program, which is rather surprising to us. I mean, or not surprising to us because we know that our students like to study languages, but it makes it therefore less surprising, I guess, that they then take their language skills out into the world and use them. And then about 30% double major in economics. And the students who double major in economics almost universally go into finance. Any other questions?
See some in the Q&A here, so let me see. Um, do you also have proficiency tests for Latin? And can you talk about the advising program, especially for undecided students?
So we don't actually count Latin as one of the languages that we do specify a modern language. You can study Latin at HWS, but you can't use it as your language in IR. So we don't administer a proficiency test for that. What was the second part of the question?
They asked about the advising program, especially for undecided students.
All students, when they come in, have a first year seminar advisor. And so you'll be paired with a first year seminar advisor actually pretty much right away as soon as you commit, as far as I understand it. And you meet with your first year seminar advisor very early, in June. Is that right,
Yeah,
Catherine?
yep, as early as June, yeah.
And and actually start working on your selection of courses that early, so that you'll know your schedule quite well in advance. And your first year seminar advisor is your first point of contact. They'll teach your first year seminar, which is small. Your first year seminar by design will be usually not more than 14 or 15 people. And a first year seminar usually reflects a topic that is of particular interest and passion for the faculty member, but it might not be in their discipline. And in fact, first year seminars don't actually count in majors. They are designed to be interdisciplinary, broad courses that spark curiosity. And they teach you important things about college level writing and reading and just acclimating to college life. And they can be on some really terrific topics. So somebody in my department is teaching one in the fall called, now where it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like brutal and spontaneous, I think. And it's on like the origins of order. Like, where does order come from? And you can like sort of see how that's related to politics and international relations, but it's not just going to be about international relations. Like, where does order come from in the natural world? It's not just going to be about politics, but anyway, I think it's going to be cool. So that first year seminar experience, that's where most of your advising will happen until you declare a major. And people declare majors anywhere up until March 15th of their sophomore year. Ask me why I know that. I did a whole lot of work today to get ready for March 15th because I know that that's an important date when sophomores have to declare. So I was getting all my ducks in a row for sophomore declaration deadline, because I know I'll have to do a lot of paperwork as sophomores come to me with IR things to sign. That said, in all honesty, people tend to declare IR earlier. And the reason for that is because almost all IR majors go abroad, they tend to want to plan a little bit earlier how to sequence out the courses. And because we are asking our students to take courses in different departments, whether it's econ or history or whatever, it's really helpful to have an advisor. I also do open advising sessions. I didn't talk about this. We have something called teaching fellows. 5 nights a week, a group of really smart students who are majoring have drop-in hours where students can stop by with their homework, with questions, even not with questions, just to hang out and do their homework in what you might think of as kind of a structured study hall. Um, in and they build a wonderful sense of community, and it's great. And when it's getting close to time to choose classes for the next semester, I usually go to teaching fellows one evening and have just an open session, kind of an ask me anything, with the chair. So I bring the schedule of what the classes will be for the fall, and I'll just answer questions and sign forms. We also have something called World Politics Wednesday, which is the last Wednesday of every month. We had one today because it is the last Wednesday of this month, where we order pizza. The faculty and the students in the major just get together and talk about politics and hang out and have pizza together because we like each other and we have a nice, pretty relaxed vibe in our department. I think if there's one thing that I hope that you're taking away from this, I love my department, and it's a pretty nice place to be. It's a demanding department, and I think Catherine can probably attest, like, we have a reputation on campus for having pretty high standards, but we try to make sure that if we're going to ask a lot, we also give a lot to our students.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that as well. I think another point that I hope you're all taking away is the flexibility that students have at Hobart and William Smith as well too, to study, international relations, but then add it on to something that complements it or something else that you're interested in, right? We encourage all of our students to, take control of their studies. And, if you want to do X, Y, and Z, you have a whole staff and faculty that are right behind you, supporting you every step of the way, whether it's you want to go abroad, to law school, to grad school, you want to pursue the new program that we have with Maxwell, all of those great things. I hope you're taking away that, you'll have a really great and strong support system around you on campus. We have another question here. How is the open expression of political issues at these politic meetings, discussions at HWS? Is it tense? Is it relaxed?
I mean, at our like World Politics Wednesday thing, it's very relaxed. And that's by the time students are coming to those sessions, they know each other really well because it's just an event for majors. It's not like a whole big wide campus forum. So I think there's a lot of familiarity. Um, and, I think anytime there's a whole campus wide event, everyone's I'm not going to tell you that it's always really comfortable all the time. We all live in the same country. We all know things can be tense. I don't think Hobart and William Smith is outside of that context, but I really value the experience when we get together for our Wednesdays. They're very comfortable. And among the faculty in the department, we don't all agree. Um, I'm married to a faculty member in the department. We don't agree on everything. And we make that perfectly visible to the students, politically. They know that we do not agree on everything politically. In fact, they seem to enjoy poking the bear a little bit sometimes. So it's but it's definitely respectful, and I think we do a good job modeling that at the department level. So,
Wonderful. Um, if anybody has any last minute questions, please add them into the chat. We'll go over those. I did leave my email in the chat in case you have any questions that you'd like to reach out to me about. Students, you can also reach out to your personal admissions counselor, who I'm sure is, is spamming you with a lot of emails and texts right now. And then I also just dropped a lot of different links throughout the chat too for you all to check out. Very helpful information. And again, for our admitted students, we have some admitted student days coming up, as I mentioned at the beginning. International Relations will be there. They have a sample class as well for any students that are interested. I will say for those sample classes, they are first come, first serve when you come to registration on the Saturday morning of your prospective ASD. So if you know you want an international relations class, definitely come early to save your spot for that. Typically, every student's very happy with the class that they are able to sign up for. Before the admitted student days on Friday evenings, there is a open house at President Guerin's home. So it's a really wonderful event to learn more about our community here at HWS. And then for admitted students only, no parents allowed, we have a Friday night live event for students to get to know other admitted students, hang out, have good food. There's some fun activities. And so that runs just a little bit after the Guerin open house. So all of that can be found on the registration forms. And again, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to your admissions counselor too.
well, thank you all for joining us and putting up with the yapping. And if anyone has follow-up questions, feel free to email me.